Hello, Aquinas friends. My name is Jennifer Latino, and I am excited to get to spend a little bit of time virtually with you. I am actually not able to join you for your meeting on Monday because I will be traveling at that time. So, Jason asked if I would be willing to share a little bit of information about the technology strategic planning process. So, I look forward to seeing all of you in person in the future, but I'm excited to join you virtually to just give you an overview of what the process will be like as you develop a technology strategic plan. So I will share this slide deck with Jason so that he can push it out to all of you and it can continue to serve as a resource. But I'm going to spend a little bit of time walking you through it, starting with sharing a little bit about my background. If you have thought about Ellucian as the technology provider for your institution, then you're certainly right. And through your managed services contract, you receive day-to-day contact with a very talented technology team led by Jason. So you're familiar with kind of that side of our mission. What you might not realize is that in addition to having that connection with the technology team at your institution, you also have access to kind of what I like to call the Ellucian bench, if you will. So we have a deep bench filled with lots of talent. And that includes folks who come from a non-technology background. So you might see in my background some titles that some of you hold and some roles that are similar to the work that some of you all do. I spent 17 years working on college campuses in a variety of student success areas, often focused on retention, persistence, how we support students in achieving their goals and moving through our institutions toward graduation or program completion. And so I had always worked at Ellucian campuses and got to know some folks in the company, and they said, hey, we really like to have college administrators on our team. What do you think about joining us? And so actually, just 3 years ago this week, I joined the Ellucian team, and now I get to spend time with all of our managed services sites, helping them with strategic planning, thinking about communication strategies. I do a lot of work helping folks look at their efficiencies and how we can be more efficient in the work we do. We're certainly seeing a trend that folks are being asked to do more with less. And so helping you think about how you can do that. And sometimes those things are connected to technology and sometimes they aren't. But we're happy to support the institution overall, both in the IT shop and also in the work that you do outside of technology. But this particular project that I'll be working on with you all is one of my favorite things to do. It's a departmental strategic planning process. And so you can actually take this methodology and you can apply it to any area of the institution, which is something that we really like, that you can learn our methods and then apply them in other places. Maybe you're doing student success or even enrollment management planning. We think this is a great method for that. We've done academic master plans using this method. Any type of planning that you might see that helps you envision how you can move from your current state to your future state, we think this is a great method to use. And so I'm excited about working with your council and thinking with you all about how you view technology for the college as a whole and looking at how we're going to help move technology at Aquinas from its current state to its future state. Technology is one of the most fun things to do this with because it's one of those rare resources at the college that is a commodity for everyone. So students, faculty, staff, everyone relies on technology. So everyone kind of has a dog in the fight, right? Everyone's interested in the technology for the college because everyone's work is impacted by it. So when we think about strategic planning, probably a lot of things come to your mind. I'm sure that some of you have experience doing strategic planning. Others of you might be kind of stepping into this for the first time. But I like to give us a definition that we can all kind of wrap our heads around for the process. And so for us, that looks like a process that allows an organization to think about who they are, clarify what they are, but then also think about who do we desire to be. So I use the terms future state and current state a lot. How do we recognize where we are currently, envision where we want to be in the future, and then the strategic plan is the roadmap that gets us there. So kind of a simple way to think about it, although not always are our plans necessarily simple. I think it's important for us to have buy-in about why we're doing this, right? So what's even the purpose of us having a strategic plan around technology? This really helps us to get technology out of just living in the office of IT and really becoming something that the entire organization can embrace. So we want to think about partnering with folks from across the college. We want to think about opportunities for collaboration across the college to look at technology and think about how it helps Aquinas meet your goals. And so that's really what the purpose of this is for us. And I will share that this is actually a service that we provide for all of our institutions. So anytime we're working with a managed services Ellucian site, we work with them to have a technology strategic plan. And so for you all, this might be one of the first ones that you've ever developed. I just wrapped up, hallelujah, just mailed off actually, a strategic plan for a community college in New Jersey. And we've been working on their technology strategic plan for about 6 months with a core team similar to yours. And it's actually the third one they've done. So we've been with them for a long time. They do their strategic plans every 3 years. And so this is the third one that we've worked on with them. So hopefully this might be the first time that you've done this, but will not be the last time. When we think about what's important in IT strategic planning, and really this is true for any type of departmental planning as well, there's some things we want to make sure are present. The first is we want to have executive level sponsorship. So if this plan, if this project, if your time spent here with us is not recognized by your executive level leadership, then we're not going to see success with this. And so we always look for that. And I'm aware that you all have that at Aquinas. I think it's also important to recognize that you are at the same time working through your institutional strategic plan. And that's kind of a dream scenario for us, that the college is planning and you're in a planning mode and a planning mindset at the same time that the technology plan is evolving. And so of course, we want to be very mindful of planning fatigue, and I will do my best to make sure that the time you spend with us is concise but valuable, and that we're being very intentional about being good stewards of your time, right? So I always want to make sure I have an agenda that is meaningful, but also allows you to plan the amount of time that you're going to need to spend with us. But I think doing that parallel to your institutional plan is really exciting, and kind of a best case scenario for us. So you'll see some opportunities for us to align those plans, and that's when this gets really exciting. We also want to see that there's some governance around. So you all, right, serving as that governance council, being the folks from across the organization who come together and say, here's what technology means to us, and here's what we want to see present in the plan. We do want to make sure it has an institutional scope. So we don't want to have a plan that only focuses on classroom technology or only focuses on administrative technology or only on student success enabling technology, but that truly we are seeing a place where the entire institution is present and kind of accounted for in the report. We, of course, want a collaborative process. You can see that just by looking around the room and having folks from a variety of different areas of the college all together. We invite a very participatory process, and so we want to hear the voices from folks across the organization. We want your plans to be ambitious, certainly, right? It's a strategic plan, not an action work plan. That also happens, and you should trust that the IT shop is handling the day-to-day, what are the activities that need to be happening to keep technology moving forward. But we want your strategic plan to be ambitious. We really want to be looking at that future state and where you desire to be and thinking about how we get you there. And then what's very critical to us that we often see folks tag on at the end of a plan, whereas for us, this process will be embedded throughout the development of the plan, is the measurability of your outcomes. So if we build a strategic plan and that guides your work for the next few years, and at the end of it, we say, how do you know you were successful? And there's no response, then that wasn't very helpful, right? So we want to be very mindful that as we build the plan, we are measuring success. We have built in ways to measure success. So we'll talk about things like KPIs and how we want to measure your progress on the plan. That's a little bit in the weeds, and we'll come to it as the process continues to expand. So we have some objectives. This is kind of my checkpoint to make sure that we're getting where we need to get. So at the end of our experience together, I'll look and say, hey, as a result of this process, Do we have a mission statement for technology that shows us who we are as an organization? Have we had an opportunity to look at the entire landscape of the college? Is all of that present in the plan? Do we have a communication plan, which is the way that we will shop this plan to the college community and have folks feel like they have a hand in helping it to come to life and stay alive over the duration of the plan? So these are the objectives we want to meet. And I will constantly be monitoring those objectives. The agendas that we make are made with these objectives in mind. And I certainly open the opportunity for you all to also push some accountability there to say, hey, one of our objectives was we really wanted to align with the institution's strategic direction. And I'm just not sure that we're there, right? So that also allows you a chance to say, are we meeting the things that we aimed to meet with this process? So this is going to get kind of into the nitty gritty. So this is where I think you start to kind of see the process come to life. First is we will have a core planning team. I think that's you folks, right? So Jason suggested that the meeting on Monday was going to be the IT Governance Council. It is ideal when that council serves also as the core planning team. So we just kind of convert that to be the core planning team for the strategic plan for technology across the college. Those participants are usually spent early on in the process. Your time is spent thinking about the vision, the mission, and the goals. And these are kind of the broad 10,000-foot things that will shape the plan. Once we get your themes and goals established, which maybe you'll have anywhere between 3 and maybe 6 goals, then we need to put some objectives with those goals. So it's time to then say, all right, how are we going to meet those goals? And that's when we want some strategic goal teams to come in, right? So we want those folks to be the ones to say, this is how we're going to do it. Now, ideally, a core planning team member, so one of you, would chair a strategic goal team, but the strategic goal team is going to include a lot of folks who are not currently in the room with you. So let's say, for example, one of your goals is to enhance educational technology in the classroom. So you want to update or even create opportunities for technology in the classroom environment. We would want a lot of faculty on that team thinking about how do we make that happen. We would probably want some of your LMS folks on that team. We would maybe want some students on that team to think about what they want. We would want people who do faculty development on that team, and they may not all be in the room with you now. So we would spin off a strategic goal team that's more focused on classroom technology, and they would work in depth in that one area. So the core planning team is the big picture. You all have responsibility for thinking of the strategic plan as a whole, and the strategic goal teams are more narrow and focused in a particular area. So hopefully that's clear. I've shared a little bit about the role of the core planning team. Since this is who you all are, I want to make sure you have that resource, but these are the things that you would kind of be responsible for or involved in as we think about how the plan comes to life. And then this is generally how it happens. Now, I do want to give the disclaimer that we have seen strategic plans come together much quicker than this. And as I shared with my example of the one that we shipped off to a board for review yesterday, we've seen them take a lot longer. So 12 to 14 weeks is the average. That's generally about the amount of time that we need if we keep the right momentum. This could change based on your needs, and that's some of what I hope you all will continue to talk about today. The first phase, I will come on site and work with you all and think about how you want to see the values and the mission and the vision of technology evolve. The second phase, and often that's a second visit, we could do phase 1 and 2 in one visit. It just depends on the institution and your timeline and how much time you're able to give us at a particular session. We start to think about the landscape analysis. So we'll do some kind of strengths and opportunities work during that time. And then we really start to look at the goals. So those broad goals that we want to achieve. We can align those very closely with the institutional strategic plan, since it also is currently being developed and shared with the community. Then we get into the nuts and bolts, right? So then there's a phase around how do we build the outcomes and objectives that are going to support those strategic goals. And that's when we get into working with the strategic team. So they come in phase 3. And then that last phase really is just me pushing things back to you. So what's nice about this process is we invite your feedback regularly. We very much want your feedback. I want your voices to shape the plan, but I will do the heavy lifting on the writing and drafting of the plan. So it's nice that your homework is kind of minimal, right? You don't have to spend a lot of time writing things up. I will take that on, and then we'll do some sharing of that. Does this draft hit what we thought it would? What changes need to be made? It comes back to me. We make some changes. We do some updates. I might get on a remote session with you all. Let's say you're already having a meeting. I might ask Jason, can I have the first 20 minutes to preview some of the plan and get your feedback to make sure we're going in the right direction? So I'm drafting as we go. And each time I interact with you, I will be sharing what we have so far, but also want to be sure that you understand that you aren't going to be expected to write a 20-page strategic plan for technology. I'll take on kind of the burden of the authorship of that for you. So this just gives you a little bit of what would happen with each visit. And so I'll leave these with you so you can dig into it a little bit. Again, knowing that I wouldn't be there with you and couldn't answer questions, I kind of loaded this deck a little more so that it could serve as a resource. But that first time that I'm on campus, I want to spend some time with the core planning team. Just as a general rule, if I'm there when classes are in session, which is 90% of the time, I will ask you to give me anywhere from 90 minutes to 3 hours in a day, but never a whole day. So I don't want you to feel like, oh, when she comes to campus, my whole day is shot, right? I understand you have work that needs to happen outside of just this planning process. I know people are teaching. I know students are attending class. And so I'll work with the IT team to build a schedule that allows us to have intense engagement, but in short periods of time. So I just don't want you to be overwhelmed by thinking, when I come to campus, I'm going to need 3 days, 8 to 5 with you, because that's certainly not the case. Here's a little more about the second visit and how we start working on those plans. And then the third visit, when I really get in with the strategic goal teams. And again, these are all suggested processes. Each time I'm on a campus and I get to know more about you, I adapt this to be a plan that will work for your specific institution. So I have kind of a saying that I like to repeat from some strategic planning work, that is culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? So I can come in with my plan and the strategy that I feel like is right for institutional planning, but if it doesn't align with the culture of Aquinas, then it's not going to work. So I try to remember that and be really mindful of tailoring this experience to what's going to work best for your team. So then what's the outcome, right? This is the exciting part, is when we've been through this process and we've put in the time and energy and we've kept the momentum going so that we are on track and on time, what comes back to you? And that is a technology strategic plan that has these components here that you see. It does have an institutional review. We do state out the mission, vision, and values of technology. We do have the strategic goals and objectives, which are kind of the meat of the plan. And then also some opportunity to think about the resources that you need to support that plan. So this could be very small. I'm not sure what kind of screen you all have, but I wanted to give you an example of what might be in the plan. So I just lifted this page from another strategic plan, and you'll see here they had a very broad goal of they wanted to provide centralized services to help students with their experience with the college, mostly kind of business processes. And so that's a broad goal. It's kind of hard to measure a goal that is that broad. But what we have under the objectives, and they actually had 4, on this page you see 2 of those. So they wanted to implement a portal. That was a goal for this organization, was they wanted to have a portal in place. They wanted to be able to share information with students and families that was based on those particular students. So for example, we heard from students at this institution that they were getting emails about math tutoring being held on Wednesday afternoons, and they weren't enrolled in math. And so that kind of got to be noise for them, and they started to delete institutional emails because they didn't see the relevance of it. And hearing that from student focus groups led this group to say, we should be tailoring the information that our students get so it's relevant to them. So that was one of their objectives. Another one is to allow students to monitor their progress toward degree completion. So they wanted a technology tool that would allow them to do that. And you'll see also we identify what year this is going to happen. So for this institution, they had a 3-year plan. I always try to watch to make sure that that plan doesn't have everything front loaded in year one so that you're overwhelmed and it's impossible to reach everything. So we want some staggered goals as well. So this is the type of thing that'll come back. I'll tailor this for what works for Aquinas, but I thought it would be helpful again to just have an example in front of you all since I don't get to do some live question and answer with you. So what comes next? Really, this is where I want you all to spend some time thinking about today. The ball is in your court for when we start this process. I do recommend once we start that we keep the momentum going, right? So if we kick off in November before folks kind of break up, I know December in higher ed, it goes by so fast. And so if we kick off in November and then our next phase happens in January, I want to make sure that we go ahead and get those dates scheduled so that we make sure that we are in the right rhythm of the institution. If you all say, look, there's no way we can get this thing going until the turn of the year, then I think we can look at when is the best time for folks to be able to spend some commitment around starting this process and laying the foundation, and then how quickly would we progress? Because again, I want to make sure that once we get you going, we get you to a result in a timeline that is reasonable for you. I'll put together some agendas and then I'll share those with Jason and his team, and he may pitch them to you all as well and make sure that they work. And then I might ask for some information. And so I typically work through the CIO to get that, but it may be that we call on some of you. Your institutional strategic plan, of course, is a big artifact for me to consider, but also looking at the other priorities of the college, some of your major projects that are happening. I like to see what's happening in kind of the region around you. And so I'll do some exploration and kind of become a student of Aquinas to make sure that I'm clear about where things are for you as a college so that when we're planning, I can have that kind of cultural assumptions in mind as we're doing our work. These are some of the documents that I might ask for. So I like to go ahead and provide those so that people might say, oh, I have that, or that's in my shop, that's in my area of campus. So I'll think about sharing that. But these are some of the things that I usually will ask for review. So that's what I have to share with you about the process. I hope that was helpful. As I shared, I really packed this deck with more information than I normally do because I wanted to anticipate the questions you might have. Jason can share my information with you all. I certainly welcome questions. You can funnel them through him. You can email me. I'll be sure to get back with you as quickly as I can, giving you as much detail as I can. But I look forward to seeing you all very soon, whether we're starting this here at the end of the fall term or if we're kicking off at the start of the winter term. I'm looking forward to engaging with you on this process and hopefully some other things to come. So thanks for letting me have so much time with you all and in such kind of a different way. I'm looking forward to seeing you in person. Have a great day. Bye-bye.